Hello and welcome to the I Can Do podcast with Benjamin Lee. We're here to talk about tips and strategies to have an I Can Do mindset when it comes to faith, family, fitness, and food. Let's go. Here's your host, Benjamin Lee.
Hello and welcome to another episode of I Can Do. I am Benjamin Lee and I hope you are doing well. We have another special guest with us today, Philip Bowman. Really excited about the conversation that Philip and I were able to have. The title of this podcast is called Flex Your Discipline. Philip has been on a fitness transformation now for a number of years, and throughout the past 20 years, he has learned a great deal of improving in his fitness and also improving in his nutrition. Philip has participated and competed in 3 classic physique competitions and 2 men's physique competitions. He has earned 3 first place finishes, 2 second place finishes, and a 4th place finish. That's pretty impressive. Philip, in his spare time, will do some online coaching with respect to individuals who are looking to get into shape, and also does some training one-on-one on occasions in person. Philip has been married for 19 years. He has 1 son through adoption. He is proud of his Christianity and is also a strong advocate for adoption and pro-life. I really believe that you're going to enjoy this conversation that I had with Philip. Get a pencil, get a sheet of paper, because you're going to be able to pick up a lot of great tips and strategies to improve in your fitness journey as well. Thank you for listening. Here we go. Philip, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I believe it was a Saturday night where we had dinner at your house. And I think that's where I had the opportunity to spend some more time with you and Jennifer and your son. How's the family doing, and how are you doing during this pandemic that we are all facing?
Well, we're all doing health-wise. We're doing fine. You know, we have not had anybody even close to us that we know that's been affected. I know you have. We've been very fortunate. We have not. So that's good. Lubbock, is a little more isolated than, some other parts. So it's a little maybe slower to get here. So we're good like that. We're a little tired of the house, things that we can't do or able to do. But, when financially there's some pains too, but everything will be okay. So we're doing all right as best we can, right now, and doing what we can do every day.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. And I'm really happy that you're on the show today. We're going to be talking quite a bit about fitness. Philip Bowman knows a lot about fitness. Him and I have talked offline a few times, I guess maybe going back a couple of years from now, and even more recently, about different diet plans. And so I think this show is going to be able to benefit a lot of people with a lot of different tips and strategies and mindsets. So, Philip, I want you to take us back. I guess it's been about 20 years, just kind of reading up on you a little bit. I know your transformation and your journey in the fitness began about 20 years ago. Can you kind of walk us through how that got started and what that has led you to today?
Well, I started working out probably was 20 years ago, which makes me feel really old, I guess. But it has been, 20. Yeah, about. So anyway, it's been probably about that long. But I mean, I never, and actually I take it back, even when I was in, probably what started it was junior high, and even younger, my dad wanted me to work out with him. My dad was always a health nut. He ate perfectly. I mean, he ate well. He lifted weights at the house. He wasn't what I call a bodybuilder, but he was definitely into fitness and being healthy. And he wanted me to do it with him too. And honestly, looking back, I didn't really want to. I mean, when it's your dad's idea, it's like, I don't want to do that. Even though I had an interest in it, I just didn't want to. And obviously, I regret it now. I wish we could have worked out together, but it is what it is. But then I started working out with a friend of mine when I was I guess a year out of college maybe or something. I'd always wanted to work out and kind of build muscle and get in better shape, maybe have a better physique, whatever. I just really didn't know how to. And so he and I started working out together. But I mean, I still didn't, we worked out. I was pretty dedicated and I was pretty into it, but I didn't really eat right. I was like, I'm going to work out and then I have a big pizza. And, that just didn't really cut it. So, I mean, I was making some progress, but not really a whole lot of progress. And I probably sustained that, I guess we call now a dad bod kind of thing, for probably 10 years. I mean, I was in good shape. I was fine. I wasn't in great shape. And then somehow I just thought to myself, I'm spending time working out, but I could be doing better. And so I just really started researching. I started there's a lot I didn't know, even though I thought I knew. And I started learning. I started trying to get in some Facebook groups, try to learn about fitness, talk to fitness people, just learn as much as I could and understand it more. And there's still a lot I don't know, but the thing that really made the difference that just made progress is when I got my food in check and just learned how to eat right and eat right for me. And that really made the difference. That was really it. And so I feel like I've been making, probably for the last 5 to 6 years, is when I've really begun to make yearly growth changes and differences and things like that, just by learning more about food and just being more dedicated. So
yeah, no, that's great. I got a lot of questions with that. Let me ask you, when you just kind of looking back, what were some of the things, if you could, with respect to the food, that really kind of helped you to turn the point? Because you've done some fitness shows, and I want to talk about that a little bit, but looking at this transformation in the last 10 years, when you really began to take it more seriously, what were some of those, I guess, tangible things like with food? So someone who's listening here might be able to say, oh, you know what? I think I could probably do that with what I'm doing right now as well. What stands out to you?
I think for me, one of the things I've tried to teach myself is food is not a reward or a luxury or an indulgence. Food is what fuels your body. So, if food is a high for you, that's not necessarily it. The food that I eat maybe isn't the most tasty food, but when I began to realize that in all forms, you have to break away from, I guess, the comfort of comfort food or make food feeling good. If you want to look at it from a Christian aspect, we're as gluttonous. Christians are as gluttonous of food as anything. If we indulged in sex as much, illicit sex as we do in food, or talk, it'd be something wrong. But yet we love the potluck. So I guess what I'm saying is I made a mental break to myself that this is not my luxury. This is not my food. And this is not my pleasure. In order for me to reach the goals that I want to reach to be healthier, to drop this fat around my waist, to have some abs, to jog better, to do whatever, then I'm going to have to break with this and have some discipline. And so I just, I just tried to realize that, food is not my pleasure. My pleasure is the results that came from it, and I think if we glory in food and live in food and, oh, this is so wonderful, then you're going to reap the consequences of it too. And I think that, it's something that we have to break from and we have to let go. Food is fuel for our body. God created food to fuel us, not necessarily to, for it to be a gluttonous pleasure. Doesn't mean we can't enjoy it and eat good food sometimes. I mean, I don't mean that at all. But when we're totally living from the taste of food to food to food, and it's ruining our health, then you have to begin to make a cut from that. And you have to mentally realize that, the food is here to fuel you. Food that tastes the best probably doesn't fuel you the best, So you have to kind of realize that.
How long did that mental shift really take for you? Because I know a lot of people, and I think you're right about this, the idea of food being viewed more as fuel, certainly being able to enjoy certain foods at certain times. I think with the pandemic that's been taking place, we've been doing a lot more of that, spending time with family and eating, and there's a social component to it. But really making that mental shift, I think a lot of people are looking for that. Mm-hmm. How long did that take for you? Was it a matter of years? Was it more months as you just became more knowledgeable about what the food was doing to your body?
As I became more knowledgeable, I think as you learn, when you actually start to look at the labels of the things you're eating. So the thing I guess I should say that really helped me is when I first started off, I downloaded My Fitness Pal. It's an app on your, so this is something very, tangible. It's an app on your phone, MyFitnessPal. And you can enter in things that you would eat out, and a lot of times they even have restaurants on there that you can enter in. You'd enter in what you ate and, you think, hey, I'm having something healthy. And then you realize it's 60% fat, or 40, 80 grams of carbs or whatever. And you realize, wow, this isn't helping me get to where I want to get to. And so when you actually start so a lot of times when people that I've trained or written meal plans for, they won't download the app. They're like, well, I eat this, this, and this every day. And I'm like, well, you may think you're eating that, then you end up snacking 10 times during the day too as well. And if you put everything into that app, or if you record everything, it can be shocking. So I guess for me, using MyFitnessPal helped me learn what is in food that I'm actually eating, and then you really begin to understand and learn what you're putting in your body and what you're eating. So you can you enter in a cup of banana pudding and you realize all the stuff that's in there and how much, and then at the same time you're like complaining because your pants are too tight. Well, you're not helping your cause any. So you can either have tight pants and eat your cup of banana pudding, or you can put the cup of banana pudding aside. So it's one or the other, Yeah. Some people want both and it's not going to happen. So that's a very tangible thing, is when I began to do that, then I began to understand and see, okay, this is how much is in this. This is how much is in that, shocking amounts of fat and things that you don't know about. Now, I mean, MyFitnessPal is not like a Bible for everything, but it did open
it's got
my
a lot
eyes.
in it.
It did open my eyes for a lot of things, for sure.
Yeah. What after you began doing the MyFitnessPal, and I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's something good for everybody. How long did it take before you began to really see, okay, I've been lifting for this amount of years, and now you began to make this shift? How long before you really started to see results that you could see?
Yeah, so I've always been kind of a stocky person. My natural body type is to be heavy. If I didn't work out or anything, I'd probably be a lot heavier. I'm not a skinny guy by nature. I'm stocky. I always have been. So when I was working out, I was always kind of stocky, kind of thick. Well, I really wanted to get more leaner cut. So I kind of went too far one way when I started using MyFitnessPal. I just cut out all carbs and just started but I didn't eat enough fat either. I just kind of got really skinny. So I probably got down to about 170, 175 was pretty small for me. I don't think I really looked bad in any ways. Looking back at my pictures, I didn't look bad at all, but it really still wasn't the overall look I was going for. So I saw results pretty soon by cutting out carbs. But once again, I tried to get smarter. Then I got smarter to understand that, you can have carbs. It's not bad. It's just the kinds you have. And it's just the way you have them, or when you have them, or, the different ways you can cycle them. So then I started to get smarter about that and started to realize that you can cycle them in, have one every other day, every 2 days, just really. And then it all just depends on what you want. So for me, because when I do something that I really like, I just get into it way too much. If it's a TV show I like, I research it. I know everything about it. I can spout all the facts and no one cares about them, but, so when I got into fitness, then the next thing I was like, maybe I could do, I really wanted to have like the results of, not just to be sort of fit, but to really have great results. So then I started to research it more and just understand that I needed to have carbs in my system. And so then I started to just understand them better. So just a continual knowledge. So I began to see results. I probably dropped 25 to 30 pounds when I cut out carbs, maybe 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Got a lot leaner. So I saw some results, but then it was still a process. And, that's what I try and, for everybody, it's always a process. You're never done, really. You're always just kind of gradually going and going and going is how it should be.
When you cut out the carbs, were you doing more? I want to talk about this too, because there's so many different views out there. A lot of people say carbs are bad. What you're saying, obviously, is that carbs play a role along with proteins and along with fats as well. Were you doing more like a keto, like when you cut out all the carbs, or when you say that you cut out the carbs, was it more? Yeah. Was it more like, the complex carbs, but you're still eating vegetables and things like that? Or was it just kind of cutting all of it out?
It was just, I ate vegetables, but I cut out a lot of the complex carbs, or some of what we call the bad carbs, but I didn't add enough back in. The way I did it was not a good scientific way. It was, once again, at that time, that's probably I bet this was 7 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, maybe 5, I don't know, 5 to 6. Anyway, I just decided, I went hog wild and went too far the other way and just said, I kept my carbs to about, I think 40 to 50 grams, maybe 60 a day, which was pretty low for someone that's working out. And I remember sometimes working out thinking, not feeling dizzy. And I was like, oh, but I'm cutting some weight. And that was another thing that was it was bad, but it was a forward step. And so what I then really learned to do was I really got in touch with more experts, and I tried to learn about, really carb cycling. So, where you would have higher amount of carbs for maybe higher lifting days, and then a lower amount, and then higher and lower. So you can enjoy some foods that you wanted to, or enjoy some carbs, and you could have them, and you would enjoy that. And so that's really when I began to have some results, is with adding in carbs, carb cycling. So having a couple, like a Monday, Tuesday's a high day, Wednesday's a low day. And depending on your goals, if you're wanting to get bigger, you would have more high days. If you're wanting to cut, you would have more low days, but you still got to have everything in it. You got to have all the food groups. And so for me, I tried keto at one point. I didn't like it. I'm a firm believer in having all the food groups. Now I have friends that have done it. There's some friends I know on Facebook that have made huge gains with it, and they love it and they feel great. And I think that's great. If you like it, I think that's great. But for me, I feel like we all function better if we've got every food group or every group in there at a different point. That's my personal opinion. I'm not gonna slam keto at all. I mean, but
Sure.
For me, I tried it and I didn't like it. And I know that I've worked with 4 bodybuilding coaches, and they all, believe in carbs, carb cycling. If you're wanting to have, kind of a fuller body, if you're wanting to be pretty slim, then keto will probably work for you also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more. I'm glad you brought that up with respect to the carb cycling. So I know you have done some shows. We're recording this right now. Obviously, we're using audio, but we also have video. So I see some of the statues in the background in your office. So congratulations, great work you've
Appreciate
done.
it. Thanks.
For someone who wanted to get started, like with carb cycling, I know you mentioned like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday type split. For someone who's saying, okay, look, things have changed. The coronavirus is here. They're beginning to take their fitness a little bit more seriously, or their health a little bit more seriously. They may want to drop some weight. What kind of recommendation? And I know you do some coaching. I want to be sure that we share where people can find you as well. What kind of recommendations, some general recommendations, might you give to somebody who's in that position?
So I would say, if you're wanting to get yourself, in shape, I mean, not just to promote, I really honestly believe to talk to someone that maybe can help you with it. I firmly believe that an expert, and I'm not just saying me, but anybody, because the reason I say this, because for years I did a bunch of my own trial and error. And if I'd really actually consulted somebody sooner or tried to be more knowledgeable, I probably would have learned more. So I would say, try and talk to somebody, at least maybe get one meal plan from somebody to help them. But if that's something that's not, then what I would say is, once again, I would say try and get My Fitness Pal, and then I would say that enter in the food that you're eating. So what I would say is, don't even try and eat special, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to go a whole week and just enter your foods into My Fitness Pal. Don't alter anything, just eat what you want. And you'll probably be shocked at what you're eating. And then what I would do is, by the end of that week, take the average number of calories that you eat a day from My Fitness Pal. And then I'd say probably lower it by 200 calories a day. And then the good type of split that you want to have is, on a regular carb day, you want to have 40% protein, 40% carbs, and 20% fat. So what I would do is then, you've taken your average calories, you've lowered it by probably 200, then you're able to then put in there a pie shape, 40, 40, 20 in that. And then you want to try and then, as you eat through the day, begin to fill up those, those areas. MyFitnessPal will let you do that. So you'll say you ate an avocado, you put that in. Well, that probably counted for probably about 10% of your fat for the day. 50% of your fat for the day, something like that. I'm just kind of ballparking it. But, you'll begin to fill up those buckets. Once those buckets are full through the day, then you are, you're done eating for the day. If you realize you're still not losing weight, then you want to lower that by another 200 calories a day, and until you're at a deficit. It also will depend on how much cardio or weight training you're doing. Also, then, so that's a standard split. Now, if we want to have a low carb day, then you would change on MyFitnessPal. You could change the carb intake to, or if we want to have a low carb day, we want to change it to about 20%. We'd raise the protein to 50%, and then fats up to about another 30% to give you a little energy. So then you can eat a little more fats those days, a little more lower carbs those days, and those are the days you begin to cut some fat. And so, if you're wanting to, if your goal is to lose weight, you probably have more low carb days and more high ones. If you're trying to just maybe maintain, you might want to have more high, or if you're wanting to get bigger, maybe less low days. And that's what I've always used. And the MyFitnessPal really helps a lot to monitor and manage your own food intake like that. If you don't have an expert or somebody that you want to talk to or pay, you don't have the money to pay for, which is fine. Yeah. That's a good way to start. But just start by eating, taking what you're eating normally. You don't, like, if you're normally eating 3,000 calories a day, you don't want to start at 1,800. You're just going to be miserable. You want to gradually do it, but you're going to be probably shocked at what you're eating or how, what you're doing. But I just say fill in a normal week. Don't be fancy. Don't try and be eating special. Just, enter in what you have, lower the calories, and then divide it up into the different groups, and then make your low days and your high days. That's how I would say to begin to do that, as far as at least the eating aspect of it.
Yeah, that's really good. And I really like what you're saying here, the idea of gradually starting. So the MyFitnessPal is a great way for people to get started.
It is. They need to pay me, don't they? I've totally promoted it here.
Well, yeah. I think I believe MyFitnessPal should definitely have a photo of you on their app. They need to have some type of link, right? So we'll see what we can do with that. But I also like the idea of just kind of laying a foundation. I think sometimes the challenge for a lot of people is, and you see this in magazines too, right? Where everybody has this quote unquote perfect body where it just happens automatically. Mm-hmm. People watch even Marvel, movies, and everybody has a perfect body mm-hmm. and symmetrical, everything like that. Mm-hmm. Where you have to start off, you have to take these baby steps, mm-hmm. if you want to describe it like that. So I really like that idea of just figuring out where you are after a week. I do want to get your thoughts about the scale. I know that in the past, I've had troubles with the scale. One of my biggest challenges in the past has been, I'm kind of like you, where, when I get focused on a task or something new, I just want to be all in 100%. So I think sometimes that can happen with people with their weight, where they begin this fitness journey and they're so focused maybe on the scale. Okay, how much did I lose today? How much did I lose this week? Did you ever have any struggles with that? That's question number one. Then question number two, what recommendations would you give to people with how they go about viewing the scale, and where does that play with respect to a physical transformation? How much emphasis should really be put upon the scale?
Quite honestly, I don't think a whole lot of emphasis needs to be put too much on the scale. It is a measuring tool, and so when you're charting yourself every week or 2 weeks and you see you're not losing any weight, obviously it means that maybe you need to look at maybe making more of a deficit in your calories or increasing your cardio or your weight training. But really, I think that when you look in the mirror, that's really more of an accurate tool, especially if you're doing weight training, because weight training, you're going to gain weight. You're going to gain muscle, and you're going to weigh more. It's possible to recomposition your body and still weigh the exact same amount, or maybe only change it by 5 pounds or so, but you may look like a totally different person. So to me, to be obsessed with, oh, the scale's not moving, but maybe you're noticing your pants are fitting looser, or, your shirt's fitting looser, or, you're feeling a little lighter, then that's really the key to it, I think. Obviously the scale measures some things, and if it's not moving at all, then there's something you got to think about. But I trained a guy and his goal was to hit, he was definitely a smaller guy, and he wanted to weigh 140. He was about 5'3" or 4, I think, smaller guy. And that was his goal. And he couldn't quite get to it. And I said, why do you care? It was just his arbitrary goal he had set of this one thing, but he looked fine. And he was just kind of almost, he was obsessed with getting to that weight. It's fine if it's a specific goal you have set, but I think really more is if you're dropping pant sizes, dropping, I guess, dress sizes, if things are fitting better, you're feeling looser, all those things, or your clothes are fitting looser, then that's really the key. That's what I think too as well. And then the scale will come with it. Probably, the scale's going to come with it, but I wouldn't be obsessed with the scale part of it.
Yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement too. It can become, people can just focus so much on that, but clothes often don't lie. The mirror certainly doesn't. And a person knows where they are individually. And I think one big challenge for a lot of people is making sure that they don't compare themselves to others. And I know that can be challenging as well.
It is.
Going to the gym or shows and things like that, but everybody is different, and making sure that there are some bigger components. I know you're a family man. I know you've been married, or you are married, and you have a son, Alex. How has family impacted your discipline when it comes to your exercise? Has that been a big part of it as well, with your focus and the intensity that you have?
Yeah, several things is, for me, I have seen families with dads that are in, bad shape, that are my age or older. And, there's not any way they can stay around to raise their kids for long. Most realistically, in long periods of time. Doesn't mean I can't have a heart attack tomorrow and drop dead. There's no guarantees, but if you're keeping yourself in better shape, it's going to last longer. I'm an older dad. I'm 45. Alex is only 10. He's going to be 11 in a couple months. So I'm not a young dad in some aspects of it. So I definitely want to be around a long time to be able to help take care of, raise him, have a long life. So yeah, it focuses on that. He makes up his own fitness routines at home.
Nice.
He likes stuff like that. He goes with, the gym used to let kids come be on the workout floor. They kind of cut it out for a little bit before all the gyms closed. But he would go with me some, and he'd lift like a 2-pound dumbbell and do stuff. And so, I thought it was nice because he saw what I was doing. He was learning from it. He learned that discipline. And what I would like him to learn is that, to have, it may not always be fitness, but if it's something to be, to be disciplined about, and to have a goal and to focus on that goal, or I should say not to lose sight of your discipline for whatever it is you're doing or whatever you're wanting to do, not give up or be a quitter or something like that,
Yeah.
And the healthier you are, statistics seem that it would promote the length of your life too, as well. And so that's just something that I, would like to be able to do. You never know what's going to happen, but, I want to be around and be here for my son, my wife, as long as possible.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'm 41. So you're not that old. If you're 45, I'm 41 now. You're just getting started, man. You're just getting started. The best is yet to come. Josh is 8 years old. He'll be 9.
Okay. All right.
Lord willing, in August. But that's been a big factor for me. My dad died when he was 59 years old. And just, I can remember, looking back throughout the years, he wasn't around as much. But when we did have some time together, he drank a lot, smoked, eating habits were not the best. And so for me, fitness has always been a part of my life, going back to, I guess, probably high school and then college and even now, where having a heart condition, but, seeing my wife and my son, that plays a big role. And I think that's something important for for people who are listening, whether you're a father or not, whatever your situation may be, there's typically someone, who's going to need your strength, right? Someone who's going to need you to be healthy. And you think about what's going on now, how important our health really is, where things have changed. And we may not be able to do that same routine or the same kind of intensity, but we really do need our health. And it is a blessing because we're not always going to have it. So we need to make the most of every day. How have you been able to stay in shape, and what have you been doing since the pandemic has set in and different things with social distancing and gyms closing? What have you been turning to as of late?
Well, I did want to say one thing. My dad,
go ahead.
My dad worked out a lot, and my dad, I told you that, and he passed away when he was 78, but I think he could have lived longer. But he developed Parkinson's probably when he was in his late 50s, and I think his health helped him deal with it for a long time. Because he was in good shape, he was not overweight, he had a good heart condition, everything was good on him. I think that it helped him manage his Parkinson's, for a long time, and until really probably like the last 3 to 4 to 5 years did it really affect his actual health. I mean, for a while, sometimes he'd go to the Parkinson's doctors and they were like, you're doing wonderful, because it just did not, affect him. Finally, it did. And he ended up, he fell and broke his hip and passed away with a blood clot based on that. But I believe it lengthened his life.
Yeah.
A lot because of his health. And so I feel like even when, adversity comes, he wasn't slinging weights or anything out, with Parkinson's, but he was still healthy, ate healthy, went for walks. So I think that really helped lengthen his life. So, there's all different forms of it. What have I been doing now? Well, for me, I have not tried to miss a beat, really.
Okay.
I used to go to the gym and do cardio on a Stairmaster. In the morning, I just go for a walk in my neighborhood now and, try and go to it. I've streamed some YouTube videos for cardio and light weights and things like that in the morning. I've still kept my diet exactly the same. I have been fortunate that there is a little place I've been able to use a few times to work out. And so I have been very fortunate that I have been able to go there and get a few workouts in. But, this is really a challenging time for people. If you're in this situation, because, if you're especially just started a diet or you're maybe 6 months in, it's easy just to fall back on your old habits and, this is, we're in a trying time, so I'm going to have a chocolate cake to make me feel better. Well, it's really not, you still got to stick with what you're doing, because we're going to come out of this and then you're going to be back at square one. So you just can't, miss a beat. I will say I'm really surprised at how much, when I work out by myself. I don't have a workout partner. I actually guess I didn't realize how chatty I was at the gym, because I'm missing all the people that I don't chat with anymore. It's just like, I didn't really realize it, but I really am missing the social aspect of it. My wife doesn't talk to anybody when she goes. She's in and out, but I didn't really realize how much I missed it, and so I do. So it really is a hard, trying time for people to keep their goals going. But if anything, you can find some routines on YouTube to do. There's a ton on there that you can stream, that you can find. I used to do Beachbody workouts. There's a ton of Beachbody workouts that you can stream and do. I mean, there's a ton of things that you can do. So if you're, if someone's sitting at home during this time and they're not, they're kind of using an excuse to let up their foot off the gas, it's just not a time to do it. Honestly, exercise will make you feel better. It will make you feel better when we're confined at the house or we can't go do what we want to do. I have felt restless a lot of days, and I feel like something's missing, and I don't even know what is missing, just that I feel like something's, missing, and I'll try and, maybe do some push-ups, do some cardio, go for a walk, just do something to feel, just to feel a little bit more energized, for sure. I have because I normally have worked in an office building, but we're working at home now. And I just feel, I just feel different. things are different. My energy level feels lower. Honestly, I feel sleepier through the day. And I think it's just a whole change in everything. We're just not as active right now because of this, but you still got to stick at least your eating patterns and what diet you're on and the way you're eating. You got to still try and stick to that as best you can. You just still can't let your foot off the gas, really.
Yeah. No, those are excellent thoughts, and I really appreciate that. And I think you're right. I think we're all feeling that. I felt that in particular this past week. I posted some things on Facebook where, the first 3-4 weeks, I've been really trying to do as much as I can. Part of that is to stay busy. Part of that, there's something about getting outside, moving. I've seen that so much in our neighborhood, where, you're just seeing people like for the first time. I haven't seen them, the 2 years that we've been here, but everybody's been outside where there's this. People just want to get out and about and move and things like that. But it is so important what you have said as well about the benefits of exercise. It's a good antidepressant to some degree.
It really is.
You really get moving. And something else, just thinking about some of the things you've shared with us. One of the most powerful things, I think, just talking to you right now, is just seeing the different ages with respect to exercise and fitness. You talked about your son. Talked about yourself and your dad, and the longevity. Mm-hmm. What a powerful thought that is, that, whether you're in your 50s or 60s or 70s, just getting started with some kind of exercise, mm-hmm. it's going to have some kind of benefit. Mm-hmm. And even thinking about younger children or younger people, our children, for example, where there's so much greater risk with childhood obesity and things mm-hmm. like that, just getting them moving. And so it's just a pretty powerful thing just to see across all ages, there's a benefit, right? Mm-hmm. In our 40s, young people, and even those who are, I like to call them more vintage, those who are more vintage, there's a benefit for them. So it's just a powerful thing.
It is. Yeah.
And what you've been talking about, so much of this is free. You can go outside and walk. You can do mm-hmm. push-ups. You can mm-hmm. do burpees, you can do air squats. Mm-hmm. YouTube is free, mm-hmm. so there's really no excuse why we can't get out and move and do things like that. Yeah,
the only excuse is that I don't want to. That's the excuse.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I don't want to.
Well, and one thing I want to say is from a faith or a Christian point of view. I mean, I feel like you do not have to be you don't have to do bodybuilding shows. Definitely. I mean, you don't have to go that far. But if you're a slave or a glutton to food, I feel like that's a sin. I feel like that's something that you have, made as your idol. We're really particular not to say, I'm not going to make money my idol. I'm not going to make, material things my idol. But if you're just in love with the food, if you're gluttonous and slothful, it may sound harsh to say. There's also, I have to be careful not to make the gym my idol, because I really like to go. And I'm not trying to point fingers at anything, but I am saying, there is some level of taking care of the body, of what God has given to you, and that I feel like that's just, that's lengthening your time here, that you can work with other people, that you can be on earth. And I really do have an honest problem with people that have a love affair with food, because I think that it's very small. I think it's something that you should be able to move mentally past. And it doesn't mean, once again, it doesn't mean you can't enjoy food. Doesn't mean you have to go to extremes. I feel like I'm a little extreme. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm an extreme sometimes with it. But that doesn't mean you have to be that way. But I feel like when you can't give up your love affair with certain things to where it's hurting your health. I've seen obese kids, and when people promote their, they make these humongous heavy meals and they just revel in it. I'm sorry. That's all. I better stop. Anyway, I just feel like, everybody has their own thing. Everybody has their own thing that they are addicted to. And I definitely do myself. And sometimes my problem is sometimes I'm addicted too much to fitness and the gym. I'm not going to lie about that. Sometimes I like that too much. So I have to let go of that, as we have to let go of other things. So, it's all, I'm not trying to put myself above anything else, but it is all
Yeah.
intertwine. Anyway.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. And I think there's a lot of different things that can be at play. I can't remember who said this, but food is something obviously we all need. We need it for fuel
Yep.
and we have to have it if we're going to live and things like that. But it definitely can turn into something that we easily turn to, where it provides us comfort. It's always available.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said this or if I made this up, but it never talks back. So you can eat as much as you want. And one of the challenges is that it can be very easy to turn to food, instead of even turning to God, or even confronting some things. And I know that for some people, different eating habits begin for a variety of reasons, right? Where people sometimes those eating habits just kind of begin even when they're young, or maybe there was something traumatic that happened, or maybe there was something where there was a shortage of food. And so even working through this idea of I have to consume as much as I can, because of X, Y, and Z.
True.
And so there's a lot of different things that people certainly are going to have to work through and process. And I think that's part of the challenge, but also part of the journey, where it's more than just a scale. It's more than just even our clothes, but it's really looking at, okay, why is this behavior here? Or why do I feel like I have to turn and eat so much more when I already know, okay, I shouldn't be doing this, or this is going to be really detrimental. And so when people begin to work through that, that's where you're really going to start to see that shift, where people can say, okay, look, this isn't okay. I recognize why I'm doing this, and now I can begin to slowly move over. But there's a lot of things to unpack there for sure. Yeah.
I think sometimes as Christians, we don't want to have any psychology, because that's mumbo jumbo, but I think that sometimes when we think of the psychology of why we do things or why we've done things, you're exactly right. Why, for me, I have to say, I guess my parents always did eat healthy. So we didn't really get in the habit. I didn't really grow up eating a lot of heavy food. So I guess since I didn't grow up with that pattern, I was able to not be in that pattern. My wife didn't really either. They ate fairly healthy. So I'm blessed with that part of it. But the thing that I have, for me, I feel like I've disciplined myself to that. I don't have to have food to make me feel comfort. So then when I stumble in other areas, I'm like, look, Philip, you have, for the most part, you have discipline in this area. Why can't you have discipline in this area? So if I've disciplined myself in this area, why can't I discipline myself in this other area? And so I try and make it carry over to my other parts of my life, discipline myself, have full discipline in all my areas, and so, that's one of the things I try and draw from is, look, I have good discipline in this area. Why can't I discipline myself in all areas when I stumble in different parts of my life? So
yeah, and there's so many different areas. I mean, whether it's food or finances or a variety of things. But I think you're touching on something important here. The first thing, and I'm sure you do this as you talk to people and clients, is really beginning with why. And if you have a big enough why, that's why I wanted to talk about the scale just a little bit, because people can reach that number on the scale and still not be happy, still not feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And okay, they got this 3-digit number. So one of the things I like to impress upon people is that, we're more than a 3-digit number, right? We're made in the image of God.
Yeah.
And having a bigger why, whether it's family, whether it's, utilizing our health. I think this is one of the biggest things for us to do, in the kingdom, where, when you have your health, you're going to be able to do even more. And so utilizing, the blessings that God has given us to the greatest degree that we can. Yeah. So I think for a lot of people, and it's sometimes it is easier said than done, but really trying to identify the why and really breaking down, okay, what thought process got me to this point? Or why do I feel like I have to continue to go down this path? And you start to kind of unpeel that onion, peel back those layers. Then that's where a lot of transformation will take place. And there are sometimes, there will be times where people need to see, a professional counselor. Maybe there are some things that need to be unpacked or addressed that sometimes will manifest themselves in these addictive behaviors or with food and things like that. So it's an interesting journey. Growing up, we were on food stamps for a while. We ate big. Sundays were always a big day for us with Sunday dinner after worship services. And I would refer to them as, it'd be like nap time after we got done eating. So about 20, 30 minutes. Yeah. The blood sugars are super high and it's time to take a nap. But those are some of the, my favorite memories, just eating with family and laughing around the dinner table and things like that. But you can have that, but it still has to be, there has to be that moderation. Yeah. There has to be that balance where, looking at the big picture, that in order for us to keep having those family dinners, we're going to have to stay healthy as well.
Yeah.
So
really I've talked to people before that it's even caused like rifts in their family. If they bring their own food, it's like an insult, or if they don't want to eat everything, it's almost like an insult to their family. It really should be the other way around. Their family should, be congratulating them and, trying to work with them, to do the same thing. But they consider it an insult. And so the thing I always try and do is when I've gone to family gatherings where people don't understand your eating habits, or that you're having a special, is I just try and really limit my portions. I try and if I'm going to eat something that's maybe not good for me or that's not fitting on my diet for the day, I don't want to be insulting. I just really try and eat a smaller portion.
You brought up willpower, and I want to talk about that. I did a podcast. There's a book called Willpower Doesn't Work. And so he wasn't saying that willpower isn't important, the author, but he did talk a lot about environment. What tips would you give people when it comes to the environment in the home, when it comes to setting yourself up for the best success?
Well, I would say that, if you're married and your spouse is not on board, it's going to be really hard. And I've talked to people that, their spouse, I coached a guy and I think he was living with his girlfriend. Actually, they were not married, but she left him because she didn't want to eat that way. She didn't want to eat that way, and she didn't want him going to the gym. So, if you're married and your spouse is not on board, then it's going to be hard. But it's still doable. But I would say that, if you're both on board, don't buy stuff at the grocery store that you don't want to eat, that you think is going to be bad for you. So first of all, go to the grocery store when you're full. Because I've gone to the grocery store hungry and I'm like, I need this and I need that. And my bill's $500 and I just got a bunch of desserts and olives, and I really didn't get anything. So I'd say go hungry. Go full, go to the grocery store full. But I would say don't buy things that you're not going to eat, that you don't want to eat at a weak moment. Keep your pay. Throw away things that you aren't going to, if you're an alcoholic, you're not going to keep booze around. Okay. So why are you going to have food around if you're trying to cut back on what you're eating? I would also say surround yourself with people that have the same, goals or same sort of ideals that you have. It doesn't mean that, I have found a lot of camaraderie on Facebook or the internet for people that are into fitness and bodybuilding and competitions. I've learned so much and I've gotten so much motivation from people like that. And I see that there's fathers that can do it. You can have a job, you can do it with your, you can have a family, you can do all those things. They can make time for it. I've seen these people do it. So I would say, anchor yourself to, even if it's maybe a group on Facebook or online, or, if you can do it in people in person, but anchor yourself with people that have the same goals or the same things that you want to do. Yeah. I don't talk about, if someone doesn't have this, if all the people around you don't have the same goals, you're going to have trouble reaching those goals. You're going to have trouble reaching them. So anchor yourself with people that want to do the same thing. And if you're, and it might be even an online community that you find or something like that, that really gives you that benefit. But I would say, also learn how to eat when you go out to restaurants. So Jennifer and I, my wife, we have about I take that back, probably 5 places that we go and eat because they're places that fit with what we want. We go to like Qdoba or Chipotle or a place like that. You can get a meat, you can get a rice, you can get guacamole, you can get salad, and it fits all your food groups. So we go to places like that. We go to some places that have maybe salmon or steak, or something like that, a lean steak. But we don't, we don't go to Italian places hardly ever. You're not going to go to Olive Garden and get something that's honestly going to help you lose weight. So don't go to Olive Garden, so don't go there. When you go out to eat, have places that that you can go to that have things that fit your diet and what you want. And you'll learn them or you won't learn them, but you'll learn the places. I'm going to mark this place off my list. I'm going to go there. But Jennifer and I probably have 4 to 5 places that we go that fit our, like barbecue places are actually pretty good. If you can get turkey, if you can get lean chopped beef, but turkey's really good, or chicken, barbecue places. We go to Rudy's a lot and get things there like barbecue, good meat there. You just have to know where to go. But if you're going to eat out, don't, pick the places that that you can go that fit what you're looking for.
Yeah, no, that's excellent advice. I appreciate that. With the time that we have left, and this has been a great conversation, I really appreciate you spending time with us here. I got a couple of questions. Give us some thoughts with respect to fasting. What kind of fasting, if any, are you doing? Typically, I'll try to do like a 12-12 type split where between my last meal and my first meal, I'll have about 12 hours or 10 to 12 hours. Have you incorporated fasting? What does your protocol look like real quick?
So I haven't ever done fasting. And the main reason is because for me, I've always wanted to retain as much muscle as I can retain. And I think that going a long period of time can lose that. So I have never done fasting. However, I know people that do fasting and say that it really energizes them, makes them feel really good. There's a couple bodybuilders that I follow on Instagram, and one of them, I think he eats 2 meals literally a day, and fasts for like 16 hours. So wow. I know it's totally doable. I know it's something that can be done. I have never had anyone train me that way, and I've never, done it that way, but I know it can be done. So I'm really not honestly an expert on fasting. For me personally, I feel like if you are eating small meals every 2 to 3 hours, that keeps your metabolism going. I think if you're going to fast, you have to have some discipline that when you break the fast, you don't break it with a birthday cake, or a wedding cake. So I think that can be something. You
just broke my heart, man.
I'm sorry. I know.
Broke my heart.
The realization. Right now. I do think that it can be essential for weight loss. You still just have to, when you break that fast, break it in with the food you're supposed to break it with, not necessarily break it with, like I said, Olive Garden or whatever. So that's my thought on that. I've never actually implemented it myself, but I do know it can work for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What about sleep? How much sleep are you trying to get?
I'm trying to get 8 hours. Now, to say that I get it is not accurate every night because I try to. I do take melatonin every night to try and lull me to sleep. I've always had so one addiction I do have, if we're talking about addictions I can't break, is sometimes I'm addicted to caffeine. I
was going to ask you about caffeine. I wanted to know. Let's talk about that for a few seconds.
I like caffeine. I like it.
I like caffeine. I like caffeine too. That could be a problem.
It can be a problem.
What are you drinking? Coffee or what's the go-to?
Diet Coke, which is probably awful for me. I mean, but they say that it pickles your brain. So if it's pickled my brain, then I'm probably got the brain of a 13-year-old. So
what do you mean pickles your brain?
They say that the aspartame in it can pickle your brain. I don't know if that's
true. And Diet Coke.
Yeah, but so I like Diet Coke. And I'll have like a Bang energy drink some too. And I am a caffeine addict, and I've really tried to really cut back on it. I really have. So there's an area that I fail in. I am not successful at it some because people that have said they've done away with caffeine, I mean, I go for a little bit without it, and the headache. I am addicted to it. I do like it. So that's something I do need to break. I have heard, I mean, I do know that the less caffeine you have in your body, I think the more receptive your body is to different things. Like caffeine dulls your receptors or dulls your sensory. I don't know if I've noticed that. I have heard that. I'm not a caffeine downer or negative person about caffeine. I mean, but some people feel they function better without it. I do like caffeine a lot. I do have a hang up with it.
I'm trying to think when I really first started. I was working out at Gold's Gym in college, and there used to be these drinks called Razor.
Uh-huh.
They were. Do you remember those? They were $1. They were fantastic. So I'd drink one before I worked out.
Yeah.
And then a company bought them. So when I was in sales, I started using, it's called Speed Stack. And that could not have been healthy, but, I could drive for hours, drinking one of those Speed Stack, get on the treadmill and run for hours. But, coffee, 5-hour energy is something that I do use. And a lot of people have gotten on me. I have talked to my physicians about that, with respect to 5-hour energy and, with my heart condition and things like that. So, I've gone back and forth. I have taken some time off, and I've even thought about the idea of kind of cycling, just because I know, okay, if coffee seems to have great benefits with drinking 4 or 5 cups a day. I know the recommendations change quite a bit, but that is something I do try to work on, with kind of balancing it where I don't feel like I can't function, because there are times where I get to that point where it's almost like, I need to get this caffeine, what I mean? The focus, things like that.
Yeah. And that becomes an addiction too, as well. So, I really would like to be able to obviously discipline myself better in that area to not have caffeine. I will say that I do try and get pre-workout that is not, doesn't have too much of a stimulant or anything like that. Cause I have had pre-workout before. It's really made my heart pound. Some people really like that. I don't like that feeling necessarily. I don't know really how that can be beneficial or good for you. So, and I try and have an energy drink every 2 to 3 days, and maybe just even half of one, if I'm going to have one.
Are you trying to cut the caffeine out like by a certain time of the day?
Well, not necessarily, because I just find, especially, so maybe I've gone back into my bad habits is, now that I've been at home, I find myself sleepier. I'm not getting out I'm not getting in a routine as much. I used to get up early. I'd go to the gym, do some cardio, come home, take a shower, get to the office. We'd have a meeting at 8. I was at the office by 8, and I was ready to go for the day. Now you can roll out. I can go for a walk. I can still have we have a conference call by phone at 8. I can still be in my, shorts and a t-shirt and haven't taken a shower. So, it tests all of us what's going on now. But I have not. I do try and cut it out into the evening. You started talking about sleep, so I do try and take melatonin because I can have like a wandering mind, and that does help me get a lot of sleep. But they say that especially for men, it increases it helps keep your testosterone levels higher by getting a good night's sleep. I went to a wellness doctor, and he said that was one of the things that can help with your testosterone. It's getting a full night's sleep, getting 8 hours of sleep. And so I really do try to say it happens every night. I can't say that it happens, but I do try that for sure. So,
How much water do you try to drink a day?
I try and drink 1.5 gallons of water every day. Do I accomplish that every day? Not always. One thing I try and do is there's powders called BCAA powders, and you can put it in there. It has extra nutrients. It makes flavoring for the water, so it's not quite as blah as it would be. There's a candy flavor that I get, and so it kind of spices it up if you're drinking your water. But I do try and do that because that really helps. It helps in weight loss too, especially the more water you're drinking, the more you're going to urinate. So the more you're going to lose water weight. One thing I've learned is when I've done these contests is, up to the last week or so before you're going to go on stage, you drink 2 to 3 gallons a day, and you're you're floating, but you're getting a lot of water out because you're going to urinate it out a lot, and it seems like the more water you drink, you think you would retain it, but the more you're going to go to the bathroom, so the more you're going to drop that water weight, and it's going to, flush you out. So you got to keep, you really got to keep drinking a lot of water, and Diet Cokes, soft drinks, that's not water, as much as we want it to be. Really, it's not. And so I really, even though I'm not always accomplishing it, but you really try and get as much water in as you can. So I'd say a gallon to a gallon and a half a day is really kind of where you need to be.
Yeah, I probably need to increase mine then. I typically use water bottles to kind of measure. There's something mental for me, at least, with that, where I know I need to hit about at least six of them to get me to about 100 ounces. But I sweat quite a bit when I work out, so I know that's probably an area I could definitely improve upon.
Yeah,
this has been really good. There's a lot of other things I want to talk about. I want to get your thought on this with the coronavirus, and this is kind of maybe going into a different subject here. After all this, Lord willing, is done, what might be something that you're looking to do maybe different once things, quote unquote, get back to normal? And it may not just be with fitness; it could just be with anything. Because I think, for me at least, this reminds me a lot of Hurricane Harvey back in 2017, where Beaumont, Texas got hit. We left. We went to Lufkin for 2 weeks. We sat down as a family. I wrote a letter to myself. I kind of wrote out some things. Okay, this is such a monumental moment with this. We've never experienced it. That was back in 2017, at least for me and my family. And so this just makes, I have the same kind of feelings almost with what's been going on here. The same thing you've been saying. You're just a little bit more tired. You're at home. The routine is different. Have you thought about, okay, when this passes, what might Philip do a little bit different?
I feel like maybe I have too much caffeine, because sometimes my receptors are dulled. And the reason I say that is because sometimes I'm not very philosophical or in depth in things that are going on. Sometimes it's just, day to day. And I probably should be more that, think about things like that more in a way. I would say that the things that I have missed the most that I really didn't expect is just human contact with brothers and sisters from my congregation. And like I said, even people at the gym. I mean, some of the people, I don't even know their name, but we chat about stuff that's going on, and I've missed them, and I've missed, I haven't hugged, and I'm not even a hugger. I mean, I'm really not a touchy person, but I haven't hugged anybody but my wife and my son since this all happened. Even my mom comes over, we don't hug her because she's more of a high risk person. We still associate with her, but I haven't hugged her. So, I mean, just to be able to, I guess for me, I realized how much I've enjoyed, or how much I've enjoyed the company of some people, that I didn't really, maybe, I don't know if I'd say took for granted, but I really didn't expect it to end. Even people that I have limited contact with, I guess. So what I guess I would say is, just be glad of the contact and the things I have. So many times, honestly, I mean, in my life, I've tried to get a lot better about it, but I've been kind of even though I feel like I'm an outgoing person, I'm also an introvert in a way. And sometimes I'm in my own little shell, and I may not stop and talk to people, or, necessarily get to know some people as much as I should. And I feel like, this is, just the human contact of it is something that's really been missed. A few times, that I've, we've seen people that we've known. It's just like a big deal to see them now because it's just like, oh my goodness, how are y'all? And we haven't seen you. And it's just, so I guess just really valuing those friendships and those human connections that we have, even if people are not people that we have, extreme contact with, or, that we're best friends with, just those people that we have contact with, we didn't really realize how much it had been missed, for me, at least,
Yeah.
So.
No, I appreciate that. And you said a couple of things, and you made me think of something else. One, the idea of just focusing on today. There's something powerful about that. Yeah. Jesus obviously talks about that in Matthew chapter 6, where we can get so far in the future where we can lose sight of today.
Mm-hmm.
the things that we need to get done today. And I think that really has forced a lot of people just to consider more the day-to-day moments. There was something, Philip, when you were talking that made me think about myself, where when I was in Beaumont, Texas, I think I took about 3 months off, and I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I was just working out at home. I wanted to see, could I actually do this at home? And then eventually I really started missing the gym.
Yeah.
I worked out I worked at a gym in college. So I signed back up. But one of the things that was interesting to me after I signed back up and went back to the gym, I just had some random people saying, "Hey, where you been?"
Mm-hmm.
I had never talked to them.
Yeah.
I don't think they had talked to me.
Yeah.
But when you go to the gym, you see the same people. Mm-hmm. If you're like me, and I'm sure you're doing the same thing, you're taking a selfie at the gym.
Yeah.
And people see that. People see your intensity. People see you working out. And that really stood out to me. So that sounds like I can almost guarantee when you're going to the gym, even people who don't even talk to you, they see, man, he's consistent every day. He's focused. They can see results. They can see gains. Yeah. So it's even those little things that we don't even always pick up on, even if we are like an introvert, where other people feed off of that energy, so to speak, where you just see the same people. And there's something even powerful with, all right, they're there, I'm here, I'm going to go and get after it as well. So I think that's a powerful point.
I agree too. I think that, definitely you don't really, it just, in everything you do, you motivate people, even though maybe you don't know it. So your service as a Christian, the way you live your life as a Christian, good or bad, the way you live your life, people see it. Definitely in the gym you do. There's guys there that are in better shape than I am. And I was like, hey, I'd like to get to their level. So that definitely motivates you. And I feel like maybe I motivated other people too as well. So it's just your day-to-day walk or the day-to-day things you do have big impacts on people, even though sometimes you may not see it or may not even realize it, you are. And so we're not motivating people and we're not influencing people right now, quarantined in our house, so I guess you can as an online presence, but in a person-to-person presence, you're not. We're not right now because we're not having contact. So, that's something I think will be really good when we're able to bring that all back and, have that. And honestly, it's not something that I thought I would say. I'm not a recluse, but I'm also, maybe I just didn't realize how much I valued other connections with other people as much as I did till it was really kind of gone, So
I think a lot of people feel that way, where you just kind of get in a routine and you don't always truly understand it. So I think that's a great point. Speaking about online and working out and things like that, I know you do training. Mm-hmm. You're doing some personal training and coaching and helping people. Talk to us a little bit about that, what you provide for people.
Sure.
Where people can find you.
So I do online training. So that would consist of me writing a workout program for you. Normally, most of the people I train have access to a gym when we could go to gyms. And I would write a program for you that's day-to-day. I also write a meal plan specifically for you that's day-to-day. You would check in with me once a week, and we'd alter your goals, but alter what you want to alter your program on what your goals are. So some people may want to gain weight, some people may want to lose weight, some people want to do this or that. So I'd write a program for you once a week to do that. The best place if you want to find me, I have a lot of friends on Facebook. My name is Philip Bowman, PhilipBowman, or feel free to email me at pdb1974@icloud.com. That's my email as well. And we can talk about what you want to accomplish, where you want to get, what you want to do, and kind of the way that we go about it. And most of the people I work with are, beginners or, a lot of dads or fathers that want to get back into the gym, maybe have been out of the gym life or have never worked out and they want to kind of get started. Women too, as well. I've worked with some women also. But a lot of times people that are just want some guidance and someone just to talk to and give them a plan. Because I will say, if you go to the gym, it can be super intimidating if you don't know where you're going. If you decide, hey, I'm going to get in shape, and you go to the gym, like, okay, what do I do now? Because I've been that person before. And I would do curls almost every day. So I had big biceps, but that was it. Cause that's all I knew how to work was doing some curls and bicep curls. Cause I think I saw it on TV. So if you don't know, I mean, in-person training is probably the best because someone can train you there, but that can get costly. So if you'd have a plan on what to do when you go to the gym, how to begin, how to structure your day, things like that. So if that's something I can help you with, I'd love to be able to, talk to you more about it.
Fantastic. And I will put that in the notes so people will be able to find you as well.
Sure.
Well, there's so much more I want to talk to you about. We haven't really talked a lot about fatherhood and family and those trophies that you've won behind you, but I'd love to have you back on the show.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic with the information you've given me and the information you've given our listeners. So thank you very much, Philip. This has been great.
Thank you.
And
Thanks, Ben.
I will tell you that you've been very motivating for me and inspirational for me. So I see what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you're working hard. And,
appreciate it.
You're definitely pushing me. So thank you very much.
Thanks. That's nice to hear. I appreciate that a lot.
Well, thank you all for listening. And remember, I can do, and so can you. Take care.